question would be like, at what point did you just realize that, you know what, we can both just go part-time?
Mm.
Like, at what point did that mindset shift? And I guess how did it first feel when you actually did it?
Oh, it was amazing. Oh my God. So I'll tell you, the day that I went part-time was basically the beginning of May 2022. And the kids were getting out of daycare, and I was like, okay, we're off today. And they're like, oh, why, is school closed? No, we're just gonna hang out. What do you guys want to do? And like, it was just so cool to be able to just take that day and own it, and not have to worry about checking email and dealing with a meeting, and just all the stuff that like makes work rewarding, but also makes work an absolute pain sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And you could just turn that off and just focus on your day and focus on what you wanted to do. And one of the big things for us when we have like days with the kids, I'm real big on productivity does not equal a successful day. You don't have to have a productive day to have a good day, in other words. So we can do nothing. Like, we could, lay outside and build a fort and read books, and like that's just as valuable as a day as if we get a ton of stuff done and finish all these errands and go to 10 different places. Like, the productivity does not drive what success looks like. So, for me, it's just been the perfect fit. But how we got there, it really was just a conversation between my wife and I, just figuring out what the budget looks like, what the spending looks like. Were there things that we were going to have to cut out? Were there things that we were going to have to change? And for us, a lot of it just became, okay, we have less money to throw at extra real estate now. That money is going to go toward vacation and hanging out with the kids and paying for stuff. And those were kind of the conversations we had before that took place.
Yeah, why I wanted to deep dive into that was because,
Sure.
it can be scary, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're used to getting this paycheck every 2 weeks, and you know exactly what day, what time, how much it hits your bank account, right?
Yeah.
Like, people get used to that. And it is hard to have to cut it in half. You talk to a lot of pharmacists, you tell them that, they're like, that's impossible.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I can't just cut that out and
Right.
live. How would I live? Right. So, definitely scary. But for you, it was more of a relief. You're like, God, I don't have to think about work anymore. I can just wake up, at their leisure, not your leisure, at their leisure. But you can choose how to do your day. Right. And like you said, I love that you said that, I need to hear that for myself too, because I'm super productive. I feel like I always need to do things, but it's okay to have a day where you just do absolutely nothing. And that's a win.
Yeah.
Right. It's okay to just go out there and, I live by the beach where I'm at, like, just walk out, go walk along the beach, and just not a single thing on your mind, and your mind's completely turned off. You're fully present. I mean, nothing can beat that. I always joke, people build up crazy hectic lives as entrepreneurs, and then they spend a bunch of money to simplify their life.
Yeah.
Right. That's
exactly.
the crap that I was catching myself falling into. Right. You did real estate ultimately to build a lifestyle that you want. Right. So you were in scale mode, right?
Yeah.
For a couple of years. And then, but once you hit, hey, you know what? We had discussion. We're at a good place. Let's just stop buying more real estate, step back from our jobs. And now you're at the stabilization / enjoyment phase.
Yep.
And there might be a point where maybe you want to go back to the scale. Right. So that's what I think was hard for me to realize too. Cause like, I'm at the season now where I scaled, obviously. But now I'm trying to stabilize, but it's hard for me because I'm so used to just being like, go, 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 go constantly, right? Something always a fire to put out. So I'm like trying to learn how to like relax again, like journaling about it too. So, I love that, basically you're able to go part-time, you and your wife. And how many years did it take?
Yeah. So, it is obviously, it took several years of working and to get the loans paid down, get the assets acquired, kind of get ourselves set up for success. And then when we got close, when we were, 3 to 6 months away, where we felt like we could do it. I remember it was so again, May of 22 is when we did it. But Thanksgiving of 21, I remember kind of sitting and talking about it, and like that, for whatever reason, that we just had like a good conversation about it then, and said, okay, well, if we think we can do this, let's try living on just one salary for 3 months and putting the other money into like a fund, right? And we're going to call that the summer fund. And if we need to pull from something, because we know there's going to be bumps, right? It's not going to be perfect. And so if we need to pull from something during that first summer of like, we're figuring this out, we'll pull from the summer fund. And so we did that. I think we ended up socking like 20 grand into this like savings account that was just like, we'll never feel bad taking money out of this account if it's paying for stuff as we learn how to be part-timers. And that's what we did. And it worked great. We ended up spending like almost all of that in like a year because it was just, the bumps were there, but it helped us stabilize without fear and without guilt. Because I think the risk more so was doing that and then adding stress, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to take a step back and then add money stress where I used to have work stress. That doesn't make any sense. So that simple little fund allowed us to really de-stress because we set it up with the idea that this will never be a guilty draw. It will never be a problem when money comes out of this.
Wow, that was actually good to hear. Because like I always kind of had that fear myself. If I were to step away, it's just like, I'll tell you the truth. Like financial stress is worse than work stress.
Right.
It's the worst form of stress. And I've been through it, you know, in the process of selling my mobile home park. I'm like, geez, this makes my job seem like a cakewalk. Right. Just 8 hours a day of this stuff versus financial stress is 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
Right. And it never shuts off. So I really like how you just said, you know what, hey, we're 3 months out. Let's do a soft go live. We're just going to try to lower our lifestyle a little bit, live off one income, also sock this 20,000. But what I love that you said is we're not beating ourselves up if we're dipping into this. This is kind of like the stupid tax is what I call it. You know, there's things that you don't, just things you just don't know because this is the first time you know, you're going part-time, and it's not like you can ask any pharmacist, hey, what'd you do when you went part-time? Most of them are like, hey, screw you. Like, I wish I could be in your position, right? You know, so you're not the most relatable person, but I love how you did a soft go live. You had this reserve that was like guilt-free, like, hey, we're going to mess up. There's things that we didn't anticipate, right? That's going to happen. And if I draw from it, oh, well. But kind of something as a backup too, like as pharmacists, we just can pick up more shifts. Worst case, if it fails, right? And maybe instead of, you know, 20 hours, you're doing like 30 hours. But even then, you're 25% at least retired from your job. So it's fine to go in a stepwise fashion. And that's kind of the piece that I really wanted to hit on there. So, you know, I guess my next question would be, so you kind of been doing this for about 1.5 years now. Have you kind of made any pivots or changes, you know, since?
Yeah. Not entirely. I think the biggest change has been, you know, now that the kids are full-time in school, it's freed up certain hours that I didn't have before. So like when I first went live with it, we had kids in and out of daycare, and my oldest was just about to start kindergarten that fall. So it's kind of a weird transition time. We were still like, the schedules kept flip-flopping for like a whole year. Now I feel like we've really stabilized. The kids are in school 5 days a week. They both go to school full time. They're on the bus at 7:30 and they're off at, you know, 2:45. And so like every day we get kind of like 7-ish hours, whatever that looks like, right? Whether I'm working my regular job, whether I'm working in real estate. My wife and I have recently started taking Thursdays off together. So we do day dates like every Thursday, which has been awesome and super fun. Like today is Thursday. We went golfing. And like, it's just great. Like, and again, it's no guilt because we both got the kids on the bus. We went golfing, had a really nice lunch together, came home, got the kids off the bus together, and the kids loved it. Like, we played with them as soon as they got home. So I feel like our schedule is really stabilized, and it's allowed me to kind of do a bit more work than I was doing before, because I can add in more real estate stuff that I wasn't able to when I was watching the kids more. So that's been kind of nice, and I think that will continue for a while, and then again, summer it'll kind of reset. But for now, it's nice and stable.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you shared that because, you know, like when the kids are younger, like once in elementary school, it's on a nice schedule, as you mentioned, right? So now you have this freed up time that you didn't have before, and you can do your other, you know, business ventures or just have time off with your wife, which is, you know, very rare, I imagine, with with like 2 kids. So it's definitely nice. But like, had you been both working full time, like you wouldn't have time for that. Right. It's hard enough as is, you know, between working full time, taking care of these kids. So I really like how, you know, real estate basically gave you a lifestyle, and it just seemed like you did it, like, honestly, in about less than 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
it took about 10 years.
10 years. So in 10 years, you paid off a decent amount of student loans, you scaled a real estate portfolio, and you're both able to go part-time. I mean, if you tell anyone that 10 years ago when we graduated, you'd be like, you're crazy.
Right. Yeah,
So,
you're spot on.
and then what I love about your story is like, it's nothing like any pharmacist can do what you just did. Like, to be
100%.
honest, it's nothing like out of the ordinary. It required some discipline, but like, that's why I really love your story. It's not like intimidating. Like, you didn't come from a bunch of money. You didn't come from a huge background in real estate, right? You're just a drug dealer that came out with a bunch of debt, and you're working at W-2. So
Yeah.
no, definitely inspirational, story. And like I said, life goes in seasons, right? Like, now you're at a season where maybe you can do a little bit more, business stuff, and then, it just changes and rotates, and you just need to pivot, as you go along. So I guess kind of my final question I like to end on is, I guess, what was kind of one key trait that you thought you had that led to your success?
Ooh. I think the big thing for us is intentionality. It's really a family thing, but like, we approach everything we do with intentionality, right? We don't make decisions without a goal and an intention behind it. You only get so much time, you only get so much money, you only get so many resources you get to allocate to the things you have in your life. Do that with a purpose, right? It doesn't always have to be a productive purpose, like I mentioned earlier, but do that with a purpose, right? So we're big on that. I think that's really helped us, because when we sit back, and again, my wife and I spend a lot of time talking about goals and objectives and priorities, and the intentions behind those priorities. It allows us to make the moves that we want to make in ways that we find advantageous, right? And it sets us up the way that we want it to be set up. And so that I think has been the biggest thing for us, is that once we really got intentional with our life, because I'll tell you, right, if we go back to the beginning of this interview,
Yeah.
we graduated from pharmacy school and had no idea what we were doing. I didn't know how to pay back my debts. I didn't know what they should look like. The last thing I was intentional. I was just following the next thing I was supposed to do. And that was when I was probably the most stressful, right? And now that we were intentional, it provides so much clarity and makes us so much more available. And it's been the biggest changer for us.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. As I was taking notes, I wrote the word intentional like down multiple times. So I had a feeling it was going to be that. And that's the sense that I got. Because like you said, you basically were very intentional how you did things. Like, we intentionally saved money to invest in real estate. We intentionally did this step to get to this next step, which leads to this step, right? And then people just see you today with a bunch of real estate, and you're, part-time, but they don't see all those little intentional steps that you took in the year past. And there's a lot of people that they just do their whole life without ever questioning or without being intentional.
Yeah.
But the moment you start having an intention, and then recalibrating yourself with that intention, because I'm guilty. I lost track of my intention as I was going down my conquest to 100 units.
Easy to do.
It's very easy to do, but as long as you can recalibrate yourself consistently and then work towards that goal, you see what you did, right?
Yeah.
You basically get financial freedom, and half of that 9 years, you probably weren't very intentional, right? So like, half the time, that's like an F, right? 50% of the time, I was not intentional. That's technically an F, right?
Right.
In terms of schools and grades, but despite that, you still hit a goal. So no, I just really wanted to reiterate that, like, the moment you start becoming intentional, the moment you like create a plan and goals, and be very realistic and pragmatic about it, and it's not going to be easy, that's when you start to become proactive and take control of your life, right? And a lot of what you said is like the traits of a pharmacist, right? We're very systems oriented, very realistic, little steps at a time, very conservative. So no, really inspired by your story. I'm sure the audience will get a lot of inspiration as well. And I guess, how can people get a hold of you, Nate?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Nate Hedrick on LinkedIn. You can find me on my website, realestaterph.com. Or you can check out our podcast. It's the Your Financial Pharmacist podcast. We run the real estate investing show on that. So bunch of ways to get a hold of me. Happy to chat. If you guys want to reach out, you can again, probably LinkedIn is probably the fastest way to check me out, but lots of different options.
All right. Now I'll make sure to put all those links in the description down below. Great. But thank you so much, Nate, for hopping on today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.